Hey everybody, Ryan here at eTrailer. Today we're going to be checking out and showing you how to set up the TST wireless tire pressure monitoring system. Whenever you're over the road, with your trailer or pulling anything behind the vehicle that you're using to tow, or even driving a motorhome for that matter, there's already a lot of things to pay attention to and worry about to try to, be safe and feel confident whenever you're going over the road. And being able to keep an eye on what's happening with your tires is really important. If you think about it, the tires are responsible for a lot. Those are going to be the only things contacting the ground and really keeping everything under control as far as what your trailer's doing and things along those lines. So being able to monitor the tire temperature and the pressure really goes a long way. That way, if let's say you end up picking up a nail or something like that and you don't really notice it, this will. And what's going to happen is it's going to alert you and you can correct that issue before you potentially get into an accident, hurt yourself or somebody else, or be stranded on the side of the road. So having a system like this will definitely be able to help you out and keep things moving along. The way this kit is going to work is really simple. It's going to come with 4 sensors, and essentially these just screw right onto the valve stems, and they have a lock nut on there to kind of keep them more secure and prevent people from coming up and unscrewing them. But with that said, these are going to sync up with the monitor here and display that information and let you know what's going on. The monitor here is going to be located inside of your vehicle where you can easily see it. Since this is wireless, one of the things that's really nice about it is the fact that you can use it for a lot of different things. So not only a setup like this, but also what's becoming more and more popular now is flat towing, pulling a vehicle behind your motorhome while you're over the road. And with this being wireless, you can always put those sensors on your flat tow vehicle and keep an eye on that tire pressure as well. Or let's say if maybe you have a couple of different trailers you like to pull, maybe a camper like this, and then maybe let's say a boat. You can pick up additional sensors, so you could keep your, say, 4 sensors on this one, and then say if you have a tandem axle boat trailer, you could put 4 more sensors on that one, save that into the monitor, and then whenever you're pulling, you could go, okay, I'm pulling my boat trailer. Hit it on boat trailer and be able to keep an eye on things like that too. So this really kind of opens up your opportunities to use this with a lot of different trailers. As far as how the monitor is going to look inside of your vehicle, you have a couple different options. They give you a rubber little keeper here. You can slide it in there. It actually fits in there pretty snug, and it just works as a dash pad. You could keep it like this, or they also give you a window mount. So it's got a suction cup on there and you can mount it up to your windshield or whatever. I was actually playing with this earlier and it works really good. It's not a cheap deal that ends up kind of peeling off on you. So got a couple of options there. And what's nice is this does not have to be constantly plugged in. So it has a rechargeable battery. So if you want to put it, you're not within the length of the cord's limitations. You could put this thing anywhere that you want and use whatever works best for you. So the way this is going to work, once you turn it on, communicates with those sensors. And I apologize if it is a little tricky to see. It's really hard to pick up this display. That's one thing I would change about it, not only on the camera, but it's a little tricky. But it's going to run through these tires and kind of constantly monitor them. And if an issue arises, it'll let us know here. So we're going to let it do its thing for a minute. I know we have one low tire just for demonstration purpose here. So it should run through and start to find that and let us know what's going on with it. So I've been keeping an eye on this for several minutes and I can't get it to pop up saying that we have a low tire. I was playing with it earlier and it was working. But now it's just kind of cycling through the tires, so not real sure what's going on, not overly impressed by any means. I feel like it should be a little more responsive than this. With that said, it seems like a lot of our customers have had pretty decent luck with it. Maybe it's just me, but it's just kind of odd to me that I know for a fact one of our tires is indeed low enough to trigger, and sometimes it triggers and sometimes it don't. So not real sure what's going on with it there. I feel like it should be pretty much automatic though. As soon as this happens, I feel like this monitor should identify it and let us know. So I ended up getting it working, and this is what it looks like. It's just kind of being super random about it. So I don't know if it does a ton of different cycles before it tells you that or what, but you can hear that audible noise beeping. I'm gonna turn that off. That way we can hear what's going on. So when that noise does start happening, you're not gonna miss it. You're definitely gonna hear that one going off. And it's gonna alert you that indeed you do have a low tire. It's going to signal through and let you know which one is which. So it looks like that left front one, that's the one that's popping up, is the low one. So once the monitor here is communicating with all of the sensors, this is the display that you're going to see, and it is kind of cycling through each tire. And in our case, all 4 of our tires are low. This has been sitting for a while since it's damaged. But with that said, it's going to display that pressure reading as well as the temperature reading. And that pressure reading is indeed below our threshold. And when that happens, it'll give you a low pressure indicator as well as the low pressure tire light. I'm sure many of you have seen in your normal automobiles. And so once that happens, it's going to let you know what's going on, and you can stop at the next station and put some air in your tires. Other than that though, that's pretty much it. It would give you similar indications if you had too much pressure or too high of a temperature. It would just prompt you on the bottom of the screen and let you know what's going on there. So pretty straightforward and cut and dry. There is some other things you can do. So if you hold down set, I mentioned about adding other vehicles if you got more sensors. And you can do like set ID trailer is what this says. So you could set the parameters to, let's say, the trailer we're hooked up to now. And then if you wanted the different trailer, you could always go through that, and that way you won't have to reset your parameters every single time. So at first, when I started playing around with this, like I said, I wasn't overly impressed with it, but that's kind of partially on me. I feel like I was just a little too impatient. I didn't realize it would take a few more minutes than what I thought for these to actually sync with the monitor. It actually took quite a bit of time, but once it did that, and now we're able to cycle through and actually see how things are working, it seems to be working actually pretty good. So with that said, one of the things that still does hold true is the display. I tried playing with it in several different positions and things like that, and it can just be tricky to see sometimes. It's either you can see it, super clear, or if you shift your head a foot to either way, it just completely disappears. So it would be nice to see some improvement as far as that goes. But, then again, if you're sitting in your driver's seat, you can kind of maneuver it in that way you need to and get it as best as you can. Thankfully, if there is a warning, low pressure or too hot or overinflated, whatever the case may be, thankfully there is an audible alarm that we heard that goes off. And, you're not going to miss that. When you hear that, that'll allow you to maybe get over to the side and take a better look at the monitor and help figure out what's going on. Nowadays, having a tire pressure monitor system really does make sense. It kind of helps simplify that process. When you're pulling a trailer or camper or whatever the case may be, there's already a lot going on, and this can save you a little bit of time during the pre-trip. You're not going to have to check your tires manually with a gauge and everything else like that. And honestly, really, if you think about it, all the late model cars now are required to have that tire pressure monitor system right out of the factory. I'm sure just about everyone has seen that by now. And there's a reason that they mandate that, and that's for safety, for out on the road, not only for yourself, but for others. And not to mention, too, it can kind of help out your pocketbook a little bit. You know, if you have a low tire and it's not super low, but low enough that you really can't feel it, but what can happen is that tire can wear differently, kind of start to wear the sidewall, and then you end up running down the road for, you know, quite a few miles, and that tire wears funny, and then you got to look into a replacement, and that could have been avoided by simply just putting a few more pounds of air in it. So really, it's a win-win for everything. Honestly, I don't really know why the factory now for these motorhomes and these campers and things like that, I don't really know why they don't just equip them right out of the box. It makes sense. It's another vehicle on the road, and if the cars have to have them, you think they would too, but that's kind of is what it is. But, you know, putting one on yourself, you know, you're kind of going the extra mile to ensure that you're going to keep yourself a little bit safer, others around you, and save a little bit of money in the long run as well. So, and not to mention too, just that peace of mind. You know, if you're going down the road, that thought of what's going on back there is kind of erased a little bit when you can see what's happening in real time from right inside the cab here. To actually get your tire pressure monitor system installed and working, it's mostly just setting everything up through the display. But there is one or two things that we need to actually get done. And the first one is going to get the repeater hooked up, which is this component here. So this is how I did our repeater. I just used a couple of screws to secure it to the frame of our trailer. Now pay attention, depending on what you're putting this system on, whether it be a gooseneck or a bumper pole or a motorhome, they do advise you to put it in certain locations. So check on that whenever you're doing this. And with that said, there's just a wire that comes off it, and I ran it up here to our batteries. And pretty straightforward. You simply have a power wire that you're going to hook to the positive side of the battery, and a ground wire that you're going to hook to the negative side of the battery. Now before we screw our sensors on and pair them, we need to make a few initial adjustments. So I'm going to turn our monitor on, and then we're going to hold the set button down. To get the high pressure set, I already went ahead and did our front axle. We'll do our rear axle. To change axles, you can simply hit go. That'll go to the next axle. Now every setup's going to be a little bit different, you know, and you can always talk to your tire manufacturer to see what they recommend, but a decent rule of thumb is 25% over the recommended air pressure. So in our case, that's about 81 psi. So we'll simply use our arrows over there to set it. Once we have it like that, we're going to hit set, and we'll come back and double check it. So go ahead and do that, and hit go again. So it verified that. So you'd simply do that for all of your axles. Once that is done, we'll just toggle through again. So we'll do low pressure set. Hit that. And again, about 10% under your maximum, or I'm sorry, your recommended air pressure in your tires. Our recommended air pressure is 65, so 58's pretty close. And same deal. We'll hit go, change them. I'll lower that one down a pound, and hit set. Then we can do high temp set. It is recommended just to leave it on the default setting. If you do need to change it or alter it, then that'll be your responsibility. And then we kind of have the basics, you know, set the display type. So do you want your tire pressure to show in PSI or bar? It's defaulted in PSI. That's where we're going to leave it at. And then, of course, the tire temperature in Fahrenheit and Celsius. It's defaulted to Fahrenheit, and so we'll leave it there. Then you can toggle down to where it is saying, or flashing rather, Learn ID. We're going to keep it in this mode. We can grab our sensors and program the sensor to our monitor. Once you're on the Learn ID, you can push set and toggle through the tires. I already did 3 of them. we need to still do the right rear or the passenger side rear tire. So you can see we don't have a code here. What we're going to do is hold our sensor to the bottom left corner, hit set, and then hit go. And then we will get a code there. Once that code is flashing, we'll hit set, and that'll remember that code. So now every tire that we scroll through here that we have programmed, we'll get that different code. So once you have all that done, remember which sensor goes where. They do give you some stickers you can put on that sensor, and you can you know, do them however you like. In our case, I did the driver's side front as 1, driver's side rear is 2, passenger side front is 3, and passenger side rear is 4. So however you think you can remember them best, that's how you can do that. And now with that done, we can go ahead and get this actually installed on our tire. So here at the appropriate tire, we get rid of our old valve cap. You're going to take the brass hex nut here and thread that down just till it stops. Take the sensor, you'll thread it on. We'll just get it snug. You don't need to crank down on these by any means. Once it's on there, that hex nut, you're just gonna run that up, kind of acts as a jam nut. So you get that snug, and then you can take this special wrench they give you and simply just snug it up just a little bit. And that's really all there is to it to get these on your wheel. So once we have all of them on, we'll come back, turn our unit on, and see what happens here. So the sensors are going to communicate and let us know if something's going on here. So in our case, looks like we have a low tire or 2 maybe. So it looks like the front right's good, the left rear is good, but the right rear is showing it's low. And it also appears as if the right rear is as well. So plugging this in, first thing, you know, I'm sure it's going to have to kind of make some adjustments here. So I think what we're going to do is go put some air in the tires and manually know exactly what they are. Do this again and see what happens. So I went ahead and tried to add some air. I had to use a portable type compressor because they're way out here in the parking lot and our air line won't reach. And unfortunately, the compressor, it's a dud. It's not working for us. Can't move the trailer over to our air line because it has damaged axles, and we don't want to risk, you know, compromising the trailer before getting those fixed. But I mean, with that said, you get the idea. You know, you would put these on and then set your air pressure to the recommended amount. It would change in there, and then you'd have a good solid baseline to start from. And that'll finish up our look at of the TST wireless tire pressure monitoring system.